Hi everyone and welcome to a brand new studio vlog. Today I'm really excited to be talking about 6 things that I wish I did in my business sooner. So if you saw last week's vlog, you will have seen that I released a video all about why I started my business and my business journey from leaving my previous career in 2018 all the way up to now, and I gave a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of kind of key events that had happened over that time, and I said I would talk more about them this week. So here I am. If you've not come across my channel before, my name is Emma and I run Sunshine Lane, which is a business selling stationery and gifts that I design that are all around positivity and self-care. And I opened my shop in 2021, my online shop. I originally opened it on Etsy, and then in 2022 I started selling on my own website through Shopify, and we have gone on from there. And so over that time I've kind of learned a lot of lessons, and there are definitely things that I wish that I'd started sooner in my business journey that have really helped me. And so I thought it'd be really nice to do a video on that and hopefully speed that process up for some of you watching and give you a nudge in the direction of things that have helped me along the way. So my first one is find your niche and stick to it. So when I started Sunshine Lane, which was Plan, Inspire, Create when I first started, I had wanted to share my journey of using planning and creativity to help me with my self-care, my physical and mental well-being, and that was kind of the why behind the business. I always think you should have a clear why and a clear purpose, because that's what you'll keep coming back to make sure you're on the right track, and it's also kind of your motivator. So outside of bringing money in every month to pay the bills, why else do you want to start this business? And whatever your product or service is, why that thing in particular, what has drawn you to that? Is there a link to you, your story, your experiences? And I think it's really important to get clear on that. Now, I did start pretty clear on that. I had been using planning and creativity for my own self-care journey and to improve my physical and mental well-being, as I talked about in last week's video. So go back and watch that if you want more info on kind of my why and where it all started. And then I would say I reasonably quickly got pulled in other directions, and it wasn't that I stopped selling the things that I started selling for those reasons, but I primarily saw myself as a planner and stationery shop to begin with, and I started doing planner inserts, and I had a big range of those, a lot to do with health and well-being, and that was how I started. However, I started looking at what other planner shops were selling, and a lot of planner shops were selling sticker kits, and they were also selling kind of planner icons. So for any kind of emotion or item or event you could think of, there'll be little icons or little script stickers with different phrases and things to put in your planner. And I very much talked myself into the mindset of, if you don't sell those things, you're not a planner shop. You're not a proper planner shop. And so I was spending a lot of time creating all these different planner icons, different themed kits and things that take a lot of time when I draw everything from scratch. And to be able to build up a bank of that kind of from nothing takes a lot of time. And ultimately I couldn't keep up with the pace of shops that will purchase other illustrators' art and use it in their kits. And so I always felt like I was on the back foot. I always felt like I wasn't releasing products quick enough. And I felt like I didn't have enough of a range, because there'll be planner shops where that is what they do, that's their focus, and therefore they have hundreds of these different sheets of planner icons, and as an example of like one of the products. And so I was focusing so much on building up this bank of that I lost my way with whether or not these things were even related to self-care and positivity. It started very much that way, but then I thought I had to provide all your basic planning across the board needs. So all your dates stickers, all, you know, your months of the year, your icons for every trip out and every errand you might make, like whether or not they were health related or well-being related. And so by the time I'd done that, I didn't have time to design any new products that were related to self-care. And it wasn't until the end of 2022 that I decided to do an advent calendar, again because I'd seen lots of other planner shops doing them, and it was a self-care stationery advent calendar. So every day throughout December there was a new little present to open, and I did all kinds of stationery items and gifts. Like, it was my first enamel pins I'd ever done, my first washi tapes, or maybe not my first washi tapes actually, but there was washi tape, there was things like pens, pencils, erasers, like all with different messaging on, and I tried to provide a big variety alongside stickers and other things in there. Notepads, even key rings, yeah, there was all sorts. I really bit off more than I could chew with it. It took me ages to do, but I really loved it. And even though it wasn't a big seller, like I said in my last video, in fact, I think like Cards on the Table I probably sold about 14, and I had to put so many hours into it. I quickly decided, number one, certainly not doing another advent calendar, at least not for a long time. And number two, I have enjoyed creating items with these self-care messages so much and being creative about how to bring these messages to different types of everyday items. And this is what I want to be doing. And it just hit me that I'd lost my way by comparing myself to other people. And so I think if you found your niche, if you found what sets you apart from other people and kind of your style, your way of doing things, it will always evolve over time, but just make sure that you're finding it and you're sticking to it, and that you're not getting pulled away because of comparing to other businesses and doubting what you're doing instead of focusing on what makes you you. Because we don't want 50 businesses that are all the same. There's no point my business becoming like someone else's. That's their business. They make their business special and I'll make my business special. And I think the minute I went back to self-care, it all made sense. So I had a big sale where I sold off everything that wasn't self-care and positivity related, and then I've just been adding more and more collections that are since that time. So my advent calendar items, essentially what was left over from what didn't sell, ended up being my first self-care stationery collection basically, and then we added from there. And I think doing it has had some real clear benefits in terms of branding, because it's authentic and it's genuine and it links to my personal story. So again, I explained it all in last week's video. It's all there for you if you want to see that backstory. But there's a clear reason why I do what I do and why messages of self-care are really, really important to me, because of my own personal story, which is ongoing. I have a chronic illness, I'm autistic, like it's really important for me, especially now I've become a mum and I'm pulled in even more directions. So yeah, to hear me talk about that, you know it's my story, you know it's important to me, and so it gives the business authenticity and it helps customers trust in what you're saying and what you're offering, because they can see it comes from a genuine place and they can see it links to you as a person. Because I think people buy from people as opposed to businesses, especially on a small business level, because I'm sure we've all had a potential customer that has said to us, why would I buy this from you for X amount when I could go to B&M, for example, or whatever, insert shop here, and get it for this lower price? And that's fine, because they're probably not my customer, because ultimately you are going to pay more to buy from a small business, but it's going to be, firstly, probably a much higher quality, perhaps handmade with a craft that not everybody can do, skills, expertise. It might be original art and illustration that you're not going to find anywhere else, that somebody has hand drawn, or, you know, digital illustration from scratch, as opposed to something mass produced that lots of people are going to own in lots of different places. It's a different market, But also, it's that understanding that there's a person behind it, and whereas a big corporation, you don't really know the people who are designing the products. Whereas with a small business like mine, you can find out why I've designed a particular product. What's the meaning behind it? Does that link to a story? Where did I get my inspiration from? Like, those are all really interesting things. And if I see a business owner that I can relate to and that I love hearing from, I'm much more likely to buy their products. Like, that might be the difference between liking it but not quite clicking buy and kind of tipping me to purchase. So I think it's important to link in who you are with your business, and it's all part of that branding. And then I would say, once I really understood all that, I knew that the name Plan, Inspire, Create wasn't really fitting anymore, and that it didn't quite encapsulate what I was trying to do and why I was trying to do it. And so it took me time to fully make the decision, but I decided to rebrand to Sunshine Lane, and it's the best decision I've ever made. It feels like everything just slotted into place after that time, and my branding is much more consistent across the board, not just in terms of how everything looks, but in terms of the whole package of me explaining why I do what I do, and then it all fits with the name. And when I'm trying to explain to someone what I do, I find it so much easier because it's clear that I've got a clearer understanding of it, and the thought of all that has happened behind the scenes and kind of ended up with Sunshine Lane and the new branding. And so I would say if you can get clear on that really early on, it's gonna save you a lot of headaches later down the line, because rebranding was a lot of work. And obviously I'm so glad I did, but imagine if I'd have come up with that super early on, and all the kind of messaging and stuff behind it, behind the scenes, before I launched or very early in my business, it would have been a lot less things to update and replace, redesign, etc. So definitely get clear on your why and what sets you apart from other businesses that do a similar thing to you, and then make sure, maybe even put that somewhere where you can keep referring back to it and make sure it's now kind of like my marker of, am I on track? Does what I'm doing now fit with that kind of mission overall? And if it does, then I feel like I'm on the right track. So I won't be drifting too far off again. The second thing I wish I'd done sooner is integrating my shop with my website. Now, when I first started, I started out on Etsy, which I would definitely recommend to newer businesses setting up. And I do actually still use my Etsy shop. I have it open and I get orders consistently. However, I primarily use it to target customers that haven't found me before. So while I do get repeat business on Etsy, mostly once a customer gets to know me and realizes that they can shop direct, they will come and do that. Whereas Etsy's like a search engine. If you know what you want to buy but not quite where you want to buy it from, you would go to Etsy, as opposed to if you know you want to buy from a particular business, you would usually just head to their website. Now, originally when I first started my business, I had my Etsy shop and I also had my own website, because my website kind of housed all the information about the business, and that is your kind of one-stop shop of where a customer is going to go to find out information about you. So what do you sell? Why do you sell it? How long you've been running? How can I contact you? Where else do you share content? Like, I've got links to my Instagram, my TikTok, this YouTube channel. I've got a blog on my website. There's links to my podcast on my website, which I don't have new episodes at the moment, but the old ones are there. So there's loads and loads of stuff going on. There's links to the wholesale side. So it really is a one-stop shop. So then to direct someone outside of your website to somewhere else doesn't make sense to make the actual purchase if they're already on your website to start with. And then from the other side, if you're selling on someone else's platform, you're very limited in how you can display information about your products and your business. It's always going to appear how they want it to appear and how their website is set up, and you don't really have those options to customize it that much. So I know for me on Etsy, a real bugbear is that the description usually gets buried. Obviously, you can't do as much in terms of your visual branding. Things like searching your shop and your product categories on my website on my Shopify store, I have got now, you can browse by product type, you can browse by product collection. There are different ways you can kind of filter information and find what you want. On Etsy, you can't really do that. You only really have so much control over how information and like your products can appear. And then all of that additional information that you would keep on a website, there's nowhere really to put that in on Etsy unless you put it at the bottom of every product description. But then, like I just said, the descriptions are a bit buried anyway. There is a little about your shop section, but who really clicks on those? I don't think I've ever clicked on one to find out about a shop. So I'm much more likely to even go off Etsy and Google it than probably to find the about your shop section on Etsy, because I never know where to find it, and I only know it exists because I filled in the template myself. So I wanted a way to simplify it and streamline it for customers that were already on my website. And so I shopped around and I compared different platforms, and I decided to go with Shopify. It's well known, it seemed simple to use, and I liked the fact that you could integrate it with a lot of other things and cut down the amount of work long term of updating things in all different places or having to send people here, there and everywhere for things. So I've got on really well with Shopify once I set it up. However, I put that process off and off. So once I started getting repeat customers, I thought, okay, this is something I want to look into. And there were two things that put me off, and they were time and money, which is usually the two things. Firstly, because as opposed to Etsy, who take a percentage in fees from every sale, as well as a small fee for listing the items, with Shopify in particular, you pay per month, a kind of flat rate, no matter how many things you sell that month. So long term, that's great because you're going to be making savings if your sales are going over that threshold where it's worked out cheaper than Etsy. And then the more you sell, it's even better because it's not costing you any more. However, in those early days, I wasn't getting loads of Shopify orders and I was still paying Etsy fees all the time. And so I think you've just got to budget for it in those beginning stages, trusting that it will build up over time. But I would say don't let that be the only thing that puts you off. And then secondly, it was time, because I knew that, so previously my website was, a WordPress site, and I was going to be moving to Shopify. So Shopify would have my store, and then the rest of my website I would also set up with their pages section on Shopify. So I would build all of it on there. So I was essentially starting again. I was having to transfer all of that information over, decide what was going to stay, how the new website was going to look. So even before I'm transferring it over, I want to decide, what's the navigation of the website going to be? What are the different areas I'm going to have? Because obviously I didn't have that flexibility with Etsy. So what different areas do I want? How do I want it to look? How am I going to incorporate my branding? Things that I wasn't so happy with in terms of how Etsy displays a product. Well, what's important to me, and therefore what do I want my templates to look like, and all of that stuff. Then actually putting all the information on there takes a lot of time. Now, the thing that gave me the nudge in the end was actually I'd been participating in some of Emily Harvey's eHearts markets, her online markets, and there was one coming up in the May of 2022. And that was kind of a year and 2 months after I'd launched my Etsy shop. And it had been in the back of my mind, like, yeah, I'll do it when the time's right. And the time's never right. So I decided that that market was going to be the launch of my Shopify store, and I would therefore utilize the extra eyes on my shop to promote my Shopify store, not my Etsy. I didn't want to be directing these people to Etsy and then shortly after launching my Shopify store. I wanted to be directing potentially new customers that had not found me before directly to Shopify. And so I tied it in with something that also gave me a deadline and made me get it done. Best thing I could have done, because I had to make it work. I had to work it back and figure out, right, okay, you've got 6 weeks or whatever it was. What do you need to do each week to get there, and let's get it done. And it really has been amazing for my shop. Now the majority of my sales come in through Shopify, with some through Etsy, which isn't obviously how it was before. It was all through Etsy, and it's allowed me to link in with so many other things. For example, my TikTok shop, I've got TikTok and Shopify set up together, so when I add new products on Shopify, I've not got to do it all again on TikTok, and I can just transfer my product collection across to TikTok. So things like that, things like my shipping. So when I send things out by Royal Mail, it automatically marks them as dispatched on Shopify and sends a notification to the customer. I haven't got to do that. All these different things. My email marketing that I'll talk about a bit later. Even my YouTube videos, sometimes you'll see below the videos that any products I've mentioned in a video, you can shop them directly from underneath the video, and that's because I've linked my Shopify and YouTube. Like, things like that really help to increase sales, and so you just don't get that flexibility with other people's platforms necessarily, because they will always want to keep you on their platform. And so it's just been a game changer really in terms of being able to expand my business and have ownership all in one place. And for a customer who's on my website anyway, it makes that purchasing process so much more easy, which means they're more likely to make that purchase. Having to send someone elsewhere just increases the number of steps, and so increases the chance that they will just stop at a particular step. We don't want that. I can make it look like Sunshine Lane. It's my branding, not someone else's. You've also got things like on my Shopify store, it will recommend other items a customer might like based on what they've been browsing or what they've searched before, and they'll always be my products. It won't be a mix of mine and someone else's. And there's the option to kind of recommend complementary products and potentially add on extra items to a customer's order that way. There's just so many different things you can do with it. So I think it makes my job easier as a business owner, but I think it makes the customer's life easier in terms of navigating your information, your shop and website, and being able to find what they want to find from you. And it also means that if they're buying from the shop, they might stumble across other things that you do, like, do you have a blog? Do you have a Patreon? Do you have a YouTube channel? Where's your Instagram? Like, where else are you sharing content that I might like to see that they're not necessarily going to see on your Etsy shop or equivalent? So I definitely wish I had done that sooner. The third thing I wish I'd done sooner is participating in events to reach customers or reach my audience. So I have done 2 main types of events with Sunshine Lane, and they are events aimed at planner and stationery lovers, so directly with customers or potential customers, and then trade shows which are linking me up with potential trade customers, so retailers looking to buy on a wholesale basis. And I'm probably going to focus on talking more about the kind of direct customer events, but I think what I will say applies to both anyway, really. And that is, there is just such a big benefit of being able to directly be in communication with your audience. When I go to planner and stationery events, I know that the people in that room love the same things that I do. And so not only is that really fun on a personal level, but you know that you have a room here filled with people who are likely to like what you are offering, and like, that just cannot happen on the internet. And there, if you can find specific events in your niche, I think what better opportunity to get in front of a group of people who most people that stop are going to be interested in something you've got there, if it's their style, because they're interested in the type of product it is. I think there are particular things that, for example, with stationery, it makes a difference to a customer to be able to see and feel the products and feel the quality. And I think especially with something like paper goods, you want to see and feel the quality of the paper. Things like that make a huge difference on whether the price you're charging is justified and whether or not a person will purchase or not. And I think that can be the case for a lot of items that are handcrafted. because you really see the skill and quality when you see it and touch it up close. And it really just brings an item to life in a way that it can't on a photograph online. So I think it can really help your products get noticed. And similarly with you, although a lot of small business owners don't necessarily relish the opportunity of going and being at an event in front of people. I know I definitely did not. The first few times I did it, I was so nervous. But everybody was so friendly in the main, and people want to also see you. They need to see you because, like I said before about the why and having the authentic link to you as the person behind the business, customers can speak to you directly and get a feel for you and why you do what you do. It gives you an opportunity to tell your story to people, and again, that makes a big difference. And the other thing is the other way around. You get to see what customers are gravitating towards or what they're not gravitating towards. What are people picking up? What can you hear in conversation, comments that people are making, questions they're asking? Perhaps you get a particular question over and over again and you think, oh, I should make that more clear on my packaging. Or you get a particular item requested multiple times and you think, yeah, I probably should stock that. Why don't I stock that? And you can have a think about whether it's feasible. You can just gauge so much from seeing how customers interact with your products in person, that if you're selling online or having other retailers sell for you, you don't get that direct feedback. I think it really helps you reach people you might not otherwise have reached. So many people have found me through, they know the event they want to go to, and perhaps that's because they follow the event directly or they've seen it through one of the other businesses and they had no idea I even existed and might not have stumbled across me, but we're all in the same room, and so something's caught their eye on the way around and you've got the chance to grab them and have a little chat with them, not accost them, but when they stop and you can strike up a conversation, it really makes a difference. And it's lovely to feel like part of a community. And I've found that both in terms of the kind of audience, potential customers, current customers, but also in terms of other businesses. Now, I will say firstly, in terms of customers, it's lovely when you see, or if you see the same people again and again, because you can start to build relationships with them, and that's really lovely. And in terms of other business owners, the same applies, but I think it's a great way to make connections with other businesses, which shouldn't be overlooked because you can learn so much from other business owners. So I know other business owners have been so helpful to me, whether it's letting me ask them a million questions, help with particular techniques if I'm stuck with stuff, just floating ideas, seeing what they think, being a supportive ear if you're frustrated with something or something's not gone right, and that person will just get it straight away. I remember when I had a problem with my bullet journals and I messaged Rebel Jones straight away and I was like, I'm so upset, this has happened. And I knew she would get it straight away and she would get like what it would feel like to be in that situation, which sometimes as a small business owner, if you don't know other small business owners, it can be quite isolating. People don't really understand it in the same way. And then also for potential collaborations, which is my next, what I wish I did sooner. So number 4 is, I wish I had done collaborations with other businesses sooner. I've done some really fun collaborations. One I did this year was with Ups a Daisy. It was really great. We did a self-care challenge. It was a week long and we did live streams. So they did one at the beginning, I did one at the end, and we each created products that complemented each other along the theme of being unapologetically you and kind of embracing what makes you special, essentially. And it allowed us to also raise money for charity and give back to a really worthy cause. So I really enjoyed doing it, and I think it works so well because our products complemented each other. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that the person you collaborate with does this exactly the same thing as you. If they have a complementary audience, it can be a great fit because you're not in that direct competition, but it can help open you both up to the other person's audience that could be interested in what you do. You can also really combine your skills and knowledge. So they might have skills in an area, you have a gap, and vice versa. But also perhaps they make a product you don't make, and you could combine your skills to create one complete product, a package of items, or whatever it is. Perhaps you're an illustrator and you want to work with a company that makes X product and put your illustration on it, but you don't have the tools or the time or the knowledge or whatever it is to create the actual item. Can be a great way to do that. And it means your customers can get a wider range of products that they might be interested in. And so you're adding value to their customer experience. And then for you, you're getting a way into this extra audience that might not have known about you, that are actually all about the same things as you. So I think it can be a really great thing to do. I know I had a load of new people that found me through the collaboration I did with Upsadaisy, which I was super grateful for, and that have gone on to be repeat customers. I know some people watch these YouTube videos and they hadn't known about me before, and that's really, really lovely to know. And I actually did a live journal with me as part of that collaboration, and it's something that I've gone on to do more of, and I actually have one this Sunday, so I'm going to do an impromptu shameless plug. If you want to join a live journal with me, it's all about creating a kind of reading journal spread. I'm going to be creating a little reading challenge for myself as like a cozy self-care activity I want to do throughout the autumn and winter months. And so it's free on YouTube this Sunday, 3 p.m. UK time. I'm going to be using one of the My Bookish Adventure journaling kits. If you have the kit or you want to grab one, you can get one and journal along with me, or you can just use any of your own supplies. And yeah, it'll be nice to hang out, find out about your book recommendations, your cozy self-care activities of choice, and just have a little chat while we journal together, and you can see how I'm going to put mine together and maybe get a little bit of inspiration. So that's my shameless plug about that. And maybe if you're attending events, next time you're there, think about who else is there and whether they might have an audience complementary to yours, and whether there is some sort of collaboration you could do together. Even if it's just something like a giveaway where you each put a product in and you promote it across both of your accounts, it can be a really great way to expand your reach to a wider audience. So definitely give it some thought. It's something that I definitely want to do more of going into 2025. I don't have any plans as yet, but it's something that I definitely want to give thought to, because I always really, really enjoy them. And I think you learn so much from working with other business owners and seeing how they work differently to you. So yeah, give it some thought. Now, my fifth I wish I did sooner is start marketing my products via email and keep up with email marketing consistently. Now, I have been doing this for the past 4 or 5 months now, and that is a record unheard of. But it is so, so important, because similarly to, like I said, with Shopify versus Etsy, for example, when you are trying to promote your goods and services on any social media platforms, you are kind of beholden to their algorithm and what they feel like they are pushing at that particular time. So you might have followers who have chosen to follow you, but they're not even seeing your content for whatever reason. And that's frustrating, because obviously this person has said they want to see stuff from you and you've put the stuff out there, but the two haven't quite managed to reach each other. Whereas with email marketing, if someone has said they want to hear from you, when you send that email, it's going to cut through all the other noise and it's going to be directly in their inbox. And I think there's so many ways you can use email marketing, not only to just promote your products, but to also add value and kind of nurture your community that you're building. So whether it is sharing information, tips related to the products you sell, information about what you're up to, events you're going to be at, all these different things are things you can do through email. And it allows you to build that direct relationship with your customers or potential customers and keep them engaged and informed. And the more you build that relationship and you're building that trust, the more likely they are to go on and buy from you. I think with email marketing, like, you can be so clever, so you can target specific segments of people. So if I bring out a new set of stickers, for example, maybe I don't want to send that to absolutely everyone that's ever made a purchase from me. I can choose to send that email to people who have only ever purchased a sticker from me before, for example. Or maybe I'll send them a different email to what I send to people who just might be interested generally, and it would have different wording. Or maybe I'm now offering something complimentary to something that they've previously purchased. Then I can say, you bought this previously, we now have an add-on, which is this. So you can be a lot more clever about how you do that. It just allows you to be so much more targeted in your marketing based on people's interests and preferences. And just in general, it's obviously a great way to keep people up to date with any sales or special offers you've got going on. And you could even offer it as a bit of an exclusive to your email followers to try and encourage people to join that list. Now, I have tried dabbling with email marketing in the past, and it has never ever stuck. I tried 2 platforms previously, and they didn't last long, and I didn't manage to be consistent because I found them quite difficult to use and to get to grips with, and quite time consuming to use every time I wanted to put an email together. And also just because I didn't really know where to start with email marketing in general, and having this platform didn't really help me gain that knowledge. Whereas this time it is totally different, and that is where I want to introduce you to the sponsor of this segment of the video, which is Omnisend. And I'm excited to share something new about Omnisend in this video that I've not shared before, because I'm just having such success with Omnisend that it feels a bit mean to keep it to myself. So Omnisend recently reached out to me and let me know about a new holiday hub they have, which is all about Black Friday. Big shopping event of the year, often taken over by the big businesses, but there's no reason us small businesses can't get involved and think about how we can leverage the hype around Black Friday to see if we can shift some products off shelves and into customers' houses. So, like I said before about email marketing platforms not necessarily supporting you to learn what to do with them. So it's not just about how to put together an email, it's about what to put in there and how can email marketing in general help me on my journey. Omnisend does that. It has a huge area full of help articles that are so easy to follow. Most of them are broken down either with kind of text and pictures or video, depending how best you take in information, which I really love. And also, if I'm ever stuck, they have like 24/7 online support that get back to you so quickly in the chat box, and they have helped me no end. But something they've put together for Black Friday is their holiday hub, which I want to show you. So when you go to the holiday hub, which I will link in the description, you can choose what you'd like to learn about ahead of Black Friday. So they have all these different things like last minute tips, more subscribers, getting campaigns ready. So if we look at one, so for example, collecting subscribers, if that's something you want to put a focus on your Black Friday marketing, then they have a bunch of help articles and you can dig into different areas related to this topic. So for example, the best sign-up forms for high conversions, you can get tips based on research Omnisend has done about what type of sign-up form is most likely to convert people using it to actually filling it in. And that includes things like what information to collect, what type of form you should pick, such as a pop-up form versus a landing page. And you can see based on data why what they're saying is the case. They also have videos from some of their customers, so people that use Omnisend talking about how they do Black Friday, what they focus on, a video of top Black Friday tips. So there's loads of different types of content. And then if we look at another example, so maybe engaging your audience, this is a really great section full of marketing tips and templates. So this one here, for example, talking about mastering your templates for success. You want to make sure you've got the right things in your email template that are going to attract customers and want to make them click through onto your Shopify store. So they give examples of how you can add value and put things in your emails that will encourage customers to click through and find out more or encourage them to make a purchase. And they show examples of how the bigger brands are using these things, which I always really love, because I think a lot of the marketing tips that big companies are using, there's no reason why we can't use them too. And it always gives me inspiration to look at how other companies are putting their emails together rather than doing the same thing I've always done. Try something new and see if it makes a difference. And I really love that underneath each example, they break down what are the good points of this email, what from this email would they recommend you try. And so it really breaks down where to start with stuff if you are a beginner or even if you're just looking to try something new. They have lots of last minute tips if you are finding that it's late in the day and you haven't got long to put your Black Friday marketing together, including a preparation checklist of everything they recommend you do. And they've also added in a bunch of new templates into their email template library that are all focused around Black Friday emails. And so a lot of the content is around Black Friday, and you would just maybe have to tweak some colors, add your products and images, and away you go. It can be just as simple as that, really. So yeah, like I said earlier, one of the reasons I love Omnisend is the help and support they offer to small businesses, and they want to see you grow and they want to be with you on that journey of growth. And that is why they offer a completely free plan for anyone who has under 250 contacts. So if you're just starting out with email marketing, no matter how long it takes for you to grow your email list beyond that point, your plan will remain free while you are learning how best to utilize email marketing to keep those orders coming in. And my email marketing has been paying for itself with Omnisend. I've been able to set up email automations that go out automatically when customers do certain things on my website. They go out on their own and Omnisend does the work, and it's been helping generate income every week for my business without me having to be sat there typing out new emails and sending them. And things like that are such a game changer when it's just you running a business. So do go and check out Omnisend. I'd love it if you use the link in my description to let them know I sent you to say hi. And a huge thank you to Omnisend for making it so easy to stay consistent with my email marketing. Definitely go and look at setting up an email list if you don't have one already. And my last thing I wish I'd done sooner is accept that I can't do it all, and also that that is okay. So in last week's video, I shared with you that shortly after I launched my Etsy shop, I also launched a Patreon community, and I loved running my Patreon community. It was a community all based around self-care, and everything we did there was based around self-care. So even though I might have got pulled in different directions in terms of my shop, it always felt like my Patreon was that self-care community hub. And my Patreon community were just the best, so supportive, absolutely loved them all. And I was extremely sad when at the beginning of this year I decided that I needed to close my Patreon. Now, it had been coming for a while because I had been adding more and more things onto my business over the years, but not taking anything away. And if you watched last week's video, you will know that one of the reasons I started this business was to avoid the huge period of burnout that I had from my previous career happening again. And that was never going to happen if I didn't practice what I preach, and I just kept adding and adding and adding and not making space for these new things. Then on top of that, I knew that I was going to be becoming a mum later this year, which I now am one, and time was going to be more restricted again. So there was just no way I could keep it all going, and I had to look across the board at what it was that was going to have to give and make the hard decision. And I decided it was going to be my Patreon community, and my patrons were so understanding, as I knew they would be, because they're just the loveliest people. And they got straight away that I hadn't been practicing what I was preaching and that I needed to. Like, the things that I was telling them to do, it's all a bit useless and worthless and meaningless if I don't do it myself. And if I carried on the way I was, then there would be no Patreon community anyway, because I would end up burning out again. But I found it really hard because I just had this sense that if I stopped doing something, it was like giving up. And with that, there was just feelings of failure, feelings of shame and embarrassment. And while other people have made their Patreon communities work, they've managed to grow them into that's their main source of income. And I haven't been able to do that with mine. And what does that say about me? And then here we go, rolling down the hill, negative thoughts attaching to the snowball as it goes down, and just more and more and more. And I didn't want to be going down that path. And I just had to ultimately sit myself down and have a good talk with myself and say, yeah, other people, their main source of income is their Patreon. For me, that isn't the case. But you could flip that round and say, well, this is my main source of income. Oh, well, it isn't for them. But I'm not doing that. I'm not criticising someone else. I'd never do that. And so why would I flip it and do it to myself? And I had to look at what I was doing it for. So firstly, protect my health and well-being, like utmost importance. Secondly, because there needs to be a bit of a shift to family focus. And thirdly, because I felt like by having my fingers in all the pies, I was risking not doing what I did well. And I didn't want to start delivering half-hearted, subpar products and content and rewards and things because I just didn't have the time to do things to the standard that I would want to. That doesn't sit right with me. It never has. It probably never will. And I had to say to myself, either you can do it all badly or you can do some things well. And obviously it's not that extreme, but what it has allowed is for me to expand on some of those other areas. For example, my wholesale side of my business, it's freed up time for me to go and do trade shows, for me to follow up with stockists, things that I never would have had the time to do if I was still doing all the individual Patreon rewards and everything I was offering within the community for not much financial return. It was stopping me growing other aspects of my business that were really important for me to grow, especially looking at being away from the business while being a mum. Being wholesale was a really important part of my business strategy because I can ship one box of stock to a shop and then they sell it. I'm not so reliant on me being the sole person selling my products, which it just makes sense for this time in my business and this time in my life. Whereas with Patreon, I have to be there to do it all. So again, it's another way that it just completely makes sense. And it's okay if your business evolves into different directions. It's okay if you don't want to do stuff anymore. It's okay if you can't do stuff anymore. Like, all of it's okay. It doesn't mean anything negative about you. And actually, I think the fact that you can admit that to yourself and make those hard decisions shows a lot of strength. Just to give myself a pat on the back. But seriously, I do. I think the things we often see as like admitting defeat and the kind of negative words we put on it, to outwardly do that and to say, I'm shutting this down because of X, Y, Z, that's really hard to do. And I did it. And I'd do it again because I think, like I said, it's freed up space not only for me to expand areas of my business that are really important, but also to have a family. Like, that's so important. It's been a goal of mine since before I started this business, and it's been a journey to get here. And the last thing I want to do is feel torn between the two. I mean, I always will, but I don't want it to be like just this dire source of stress that I can't manage that also leads to burnout. So we avoid burnout at all costs. And I wish I'd done that sooner because I think I'd have been a little bit kinder to myself. And that kind of leads me to my conclusion, I think, which is when I was thinking about the things that I would include, I realised that a common theme running throughout all of it was I didn't do a lot of these things sooner, not because I didn't realise they were a possibility, but because I held myself back. And a big part of that is often like negative self-talk, and we talk ourselves out of things for various reasons, and sometimes they're not always the right reasons. I know when I was thinking about doing my first trade show, I was part of a wholesale coaching group run by Joyful Selling, and I said to Leona, my coach, I think trade shows is my next step that I want to take, or that I should take, but I'm not ready yet. I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm at the right level. And I know I've said this to myself about so many different things. I'm not at the right level to have my own shop. I'm not at the right level to approach shops about stocking my products. I'm not at the right level to try and launch a new type of product. Like all these different things I tell myself all the time, starting in-person events. So yeah, I said to her, I know I'm not ready though. And she said to me, what does being ready look like and feel like? And I couldn't really answer it. And it was like a light bulb went off, and I realised we're never ready for the next step. That's why it's a step, right? It's another level up from where we've been before. And so, of course, we're not ready. We've never had any experience of doing it before. Like, yeah, like by its very nature, like, of course you're not going to be ready for it. But those little leaps are what help you grow in your business and not just stay stagnant where you've always been. If you're happy with where you are, if there are no next steps for you, like, I think this is only relevant advice if you've got a goal you want to reach that's further on from where you are. If you are comfortable where you are, then that's fine and that's totally valid. But if you've got a goal you want to reach and you're not there yet, taking those little leaps is how you're going to get there. And as long as you're not setting yourself up by going straight from rung 1 to rung 10 of the ladder, start trying them. Start trying some of these things. Not all of them will land. There will be things you think, well, I won't do that again. But that's how you learn. And that's also how you know how you're on the right path. So, for example, one of the types of in-person events I tried was doing generic markets, and I had a hunch that they wouldn't be as successful for me because I'd already done the kind of planner and stationery specific ones, and I guess people probably normally do them the other way around, but I had done that and I'd had a room full of people who were totally into the things I was into, and then thinking about being in a generic location at a generic market where people aren't necessarily going to be, I kind of thought, I don't know how well this is going to go really. And it was fine, but like, it wasn't really worth giving up my whole weekend. And it confirmed my suspicion. I did it once, I got some new customers, I made my money back, just wouldn't do it again. But now I've confirmed that suspicion, and I know that my strategy of trying to attend fewer events, but the ones that the audience is really right for me, is the right one. So there are no failures, there are only lessons learned. There you go. That's what I think about that. We just think, I won't do that again. And then you take the next little leap and you see where that leads you. So if there's something you think will be a benefit to your business and you feel you can do it, take the little leap, see where it leads you, because like I said in last week's video, I'm just so proud of where my business has come over the last 5 years and where I have come personally over that time. And so don't hold yourself back. Give things a go. If you think any of the things in this video are something you haven't tried that you could try, and give yourself that little nudge to finally do one of those things, or the thing you've been holding yourself back from, please do. I would love to know in the comments below what it is you would like to try. Commit to trying one new thing. Let's all commit to trying one new thing. Write it in the comments what it's going to be. Let's hold each other accountable. My new thing's becoming a mum right now, so I'm not going to add any more. But write your new things in the comments. We'll hold each other accountable, and let's just see where it takes you. The opportunities are endless. So I am going to leave you there for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back next week where I will be showing you a bit of an updated office organisation video, because I know you love those and I have had another move around. So I will be back to do some good old sorting out and show you the changes I've made and how I think they're going to make things more efficient in my studio. So I will see you then. Until then, take care of yourself and I will see you next week. Bye everyone.